the graphics add for seasons where it shows naked trees for winter and fully clothed trees for summer, colourful trees for fall, doesn't play well with older sim trees. As I said, these will look to be fairly healthy trees with no graphical issues. Field 2 is fairly square as well. I'm going to worry about that now. I'm going to run down to the front of the farm. So obviously one of the things I want to make sure is that temperature is going to be up high enough to plant grass when we, as soon as we're able to plant it, and that the field is actually ready to plant as well. So the aim is to seed that field in front of the farmhouse with grass. Lots of traffic. Oh, lots of fences. So we will plan for that. Should go back and check on the weather report again. Stick a worker in there, not that I can really afford it. Not that screen, that screen. So, maximum temperature. Oh, we're still early today, so maximum temperature's coming up. I don't know if it's going to be possible. Yeah, temperatures are too high. Where's grass? We can actually plant grass now, but again, it may not germinate. Can't do sugar cane, can't do cotton. So anytime now we could plant grass. That's good to know. Oh, no, stop. There we go. I still need to lime all these fields as well. So we will do that. Possibly once I've gone down the street ploughing all these fields. Try not to impinge on the road traffic too much. Bit unrealistic dropping the plough off the end of the field. I did have a bunch of other tractors under consideration for this job. They were all either too low horsepower, I did finally find the Hurliman T4, no, 4MTI? Can't remember. Let's have a look. It might have been a light tractor. This one. It's kind of a nice looking tractor. Unfortunately, it's a little bit glitched when it comes to the front loader on the diagram at the top left side of the screen, and that was annoying. And then since I've already been with Massey Ferguson on the previous playthrough on this farm, I'm featuring Fendt quite heavily on Mercury Farm. And John Deere's a possibility, but unfortunately the 6R doesn't allow a front loader and the 6M doesn't have a front power attacher. I eventually decided, well, we haven't done New Holland yet, so let's do that. Plus, I think that Oldstream Farm 17, the dealership there was a New Holland dealer. It also gives us the option of running a bunch of the old New Holland tractors if we decide we need something a little bit cheaper. For now, I'm going to stick with this. So we've been running with this tractor for about 50 minutes, so we won't get it for free if we sold it. Seasons carryover from 17 apparently still has the try and buy option, where you can buy a tractor or any piece of equipment, use it for less than an hour, and they will refund you the entire payment from the purchase. Take it in and say, it's just too blue for me, or something. But yeah, a lot of the other tractor options I had in this engine size range don't allow for front loaders, and that may be important to me. I'm not sure yet, but I prefer not to have the situation where, oh, I need a front loader and I don't have a tractor to put it on. I could get a telehandler or something like that. It's not completely fatal. Let's bounce over here. Not that one. Take off the needs lime. So it looks like, in general, our ploughing coverage is adequate. Looks like I missed a bit at the bottom of this field, but no great shakes. Put that there. Now for this playthrough I will probably use less in the way of mods. just because Seasons tends to modify pretty much everything. And obviously the in-game equipment has been modified to play well with Seasons, including the 2 maps. And mod equipment definitely hasn't. So that could create issues. Obviously once we're settled in, we may look at more mod equipment. Right now we want to enjoy the complexities that Seasons brings us. Consider this to be an unexpected bonus stream for the week, since, as I said earlier, I wasn't expecting the power to come back until midnight on Wednesday into Thursday morning. And then I would have to go to work, and I have to work in the office, because obviously I can't work from home when there's no power. So anything I was planning to do tonight was going to be catch up with all the videos all the streams I didn't push to YouTube last weekend, and everything else I need to do that I couldn't because there was no power for the computers. But since that's all managed now, Wednesday night, because we got the power back 24 hours early, that has made it a little bit easier, or given me a little bit of time to stream tonight. So here I am. Tomorrow, as it's supposed to be a regular, ordinary stream, we will be playing World of Warships, and hopefully Saturday this week, for the first time in about 3 weeks, I'll be able to stream a bit of Lawfolds, and we can finish off winter and maybe get onto setting up the planting season. We lost power because there was a big storm which was very windy, and nobody cuts down trees that have power lines going through them, and every so often a tree will take the power lines down. And it was so windy that lots and lots and lots of people lost power. And because my particular region of the map has between 100 and 500 people in it, and there were regions around here which had over 5,000 people who lost power. Obviously the regions with 5,000 people not having power were more important than my region, so we had to wait about 72 hours before we got our power back. Now there were also some electrical storms on Saturday into Sunday, which took out lots of other people's power, so it was sort of a multiple, everything on top of each other type of thing. Everybody who lost power on Saturday, some people were restored on Sunday, some people didn't get their power restored on Sunday or by Sunday, so when the trees went through and started taking out the winds went through and started taking trees down in large regions, the power company had to reprioritise everyone who'd had their power taken out by lightning strikes and prioritise the areas where the most people were affected. So that was all good fun. Previous weekend I lost internet because our contractor who was building our deck stuck his shovel through the cable. Fortunately for us, he did that at 4 o'clock on Friday, which was kind of short notice. But Comcast work on Sundays, so Comcast technician came out and attached a new cable and left it traipsed across our front yard, so no cutting the grass. And then I think it was probably Wednesday this week, a dude with a shovel came over and dug a ditch and tucked the cable into it. Oh, sorry, Mr. Car Driver. Yeah, we see, in our area, that would have been, that's pretty much what happened in our area. If you lost your power to a lightning strike on Saturday and you had a significant number of people in your area, over 500 seemed to be a good cut-off point. They would have restored that by Sunday lunchtime. But the outlying areas where, we live between two small cities, but it is a very rural area. So you could lose power over a couple of square miles and only affect 20 people. And so obviously the power companies prioritise based on how many people we can get back on. I mean, they were saying on their website that by Monday night they wanted, Tuesday, Wednesday, 80% of the people reconnected by Monday night at midnight, 90% of the people by Tuesday night at midnight, and 100% of the problems sorted out by Wednesday night. But obviously if you'd had a lightning strike on Saturday and they hadn't got to you by Sunday night, you got bumped by all of the wind damage on Sunday. Our power went down midstream about 10:30, I think. And because we have a couple of batteries specifically for our gaming computers, my work computer went down, so I couldn't see anything happening on the stream. But my gaming system was up, one monitor was up, the steering wheel went down, so I couldn't drive a tractor very easily. All the lights went out. The microphone was still on, the router's still on. My wife has the modem plugged into her battery. So we were able to carry on. Theoretically, we could carry it on playing for another hour. But it was sort of, we probably need to go to sleep. So we cut the stream short. And at that point basically said, hey, if you're still watching this, we're probably not going to be here tomorrow. Which was true. Then I had to try and figure out how to post a message onto Twitch to say, probably not going to be here till Friday. Which wasn't possible on Monday morning because by that point my phone was dead with no hope of recharging it. So we went and booked into a hotel, got the phones charged so I could send messages to people like my office to say, I'm not going to be in here in today because problems. one of the kids had to go and get her eyes checked because she has vision problems. So my wife had the only available vehicle because the other one was trapped in the garage, and I can't get at the door release when there's no power and the car's in it. So we've had one car. My wife and the girls have been staying in the hotel room. I've been sleeping at home. Yeah, we did that once we could get, once we got up the next morning, but obviously I'm not going to sit in the car at midnight for 2 hours charging the phones up. And in spite of the fact we live in a rural area, I'm also not going to leave the car running for 2 hours while I sleep. That should be okay. Also, my wife's phone had a problem in that it was completely failing to charge, and we finally tracked that down to something wrong with the power connector, USB connector. And we tried lots of USB cables. One of them worked and all of the rest of them didn't. But by that time she'd ordered a new phone, and the new phone has a completely different adapter. So we have dozens of home chargers and car chargers, and none of the cables we've got are good for my wife's new phone. Damn, I'm not doing well with that one. Let's try that again. Because our last trip down to Ohio, we bought a wall charger and a car charger, both of which had 2 USB outlets on them. So we're actually able to simultaneously power or charge both phones in the car and in a hotel. Plus, since the car doesn't have GPS, we tend to GPS with the phone, which drains the batteries faster as well. So being able to plug both phones in at the same time is kind of helpful. We just bought a second-hand truck which has GPS in it, so no need to run the phones. Took us a while to figure out how the GPS worked, plus on the trip to Ohio it wasn't available. As with any used vehicle, you'll always budget to have some repairs. And I think my average is about $1,500. For every vehicle we bought, one of them we had to flush pretty much all the fluids out of the car. Oil, steering, power steering, transmission, the works. Because who'd ever owned it previously, I don't know what they'd put in it, but it was green sludge when we bought it. But it's just flush all the systems and replace the oil. There's usually some tyres that need replacing. I don't know what it is with some people, sort of, oh no, my tyres have worn out, I need to go and buy myself a new car. Sort of, it's not that expensive to replace the tyres, really. But unless you're getting a sort of an end of term lease, The majority of vehicles you will find on a used car lot are probably, there is something fairly minor wrong with it, but it's the fifth problem the car has had in the last 6 months, and the previous owner was just, oh, I can't believe I have to replace all the spark plugs, or I can't believe I need to replace all the tyres after all the other things I've done with this car. I've just had it. You go and buy it and you look at it and you say, well, okay, so it needs a new set of tyres. Well, every car needs a new set of tyres sometimes, so maybe negotiate with the dealer, well, if you replace the tyres, then I'll buy it from you, type of thing. Did that with my first BMW motorcycle. Dad and I had gone out to look for a bike for me, and there was we found a bike that same style as my dad had previously owned, and he said, oh, it's a good bike, let's go take a look at it. And we went and had a look at it. Hello. Yeah. So we had a look at it, and it was very, very high mileage for its age, so we just said, no, we'll skip that. And my dad had to go to another town to buy something, and we parked in the parking lot. We came out, we were walking into town, there's a bike shop. We'll go and have a look. He went to town, he came back. I said, well, I found this BMW. They only want $1,000, £1,000 for it. So we looked at it and said, well, the tyres need to be replaced. But apart from that, it looks okay, and the guy just wants to get rid of it because he doesn't do BMWs. So we had a word with him, and he sort of, could do with a new set of tyres. He said, well, I'll put some really cheap tyres on it, or I'll put one of the good recommended tyres on the back, because the front one still has a little bit of life left in it. So we sort of, okay, we'll do that. So we got a brand new back tyre, and the front tyre went for another 1,000 miles before we had to replace it. Okay, I'm going to stick this on a worker and turn the air conditioning down, and then I'll come back. Okay, I came back. Yeah, that's the other thing we did this year was our air conditioning went out last year. So when we got around to replacing it, excuse me, thank you. We went with a slightly bigger system because the old one was struggling. It was fine for the floor area of the house, but it was not fine when you factored in the entire basement. So it was a little underpowered for the floor area we had. So we went with a slightly larger air conditioner. But the result is that it's now very capable of keeping the upstairs of the house cool. At the temperature you set it rather than 2 degrees above it. Unfortunately, it is now able to cool down the basement significantly lower than the upstairs is. So whereas we used to, we'd set the house to 72 degrees, and the basement would be about 72 and upstairs would be 74. We're now setting it to 74, and upstairs drops to 74, which is fairly comfortable, and the basement drops to about 65, and that's where the master bedroom is. So it's terribly cold downstairs this time of day. Thermostat's in the living room, so the living room is currently at about 74.5 degrees, I would guess, and the air conditioning is set to 74 degrees, so it thinks it's still too warm up here, but only just. So it's still blowing cold air, and the basement is currently in Arctic conditions. What's that? Oh, this gaming channel has a new post from Simone. Okay. So how are we doing? Already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm running at the game at ×5 speed, which is probably okay considering the amount of work we have available to do right now just consists of ploughing the ground. Blah blah blah, YouTube, blah blah blah. Okay. So while the ground is too cold and too dry, the only thing I have available to do is to plough it all. And I started on New Farmer, so we have the standard 7 fields. I sold every piece of equipment we owned, which is why the bank balance looks healthy. Obviously I'd like for it to stay as healthy as possible, for as long as possible. I didn't check the farm silo yet. Plus I don't have a wagon. So we'll see what happens there. Vast amount of home